You've counted every calorie, tried every diet, spent hours in the gym, and still something's missing. You want more than just weight loss. You want your energy back. You want your confidence restored. You want a way of living that doesn't feel like punishment. Welcome to Master Your Metabolism, where we cut through the noise, ditch the fads, and give you a real plan to become the healthiest, strongest version of you. Hosted by our team of expert coaches with proven strategies, science-based tips, and real-life encouragement, not just to help you lose fat, but actually create that lifestyle that you love. You've tried everything. Now, let's try what actually works. This is your turning point. Let's go. Hey all, Brooke here, and we are here with our team. We have Amanda Beckwith, our mindset coach, of course, my wonderful husband, Calvin Masters, Megan, and Whitney. So we wanted to chat today about a topic that's been coming up a lot with some of our clients. We are now digging deeper into labs and blood work and finding a large number of our clients that are having issues and health issues such as diabetes, high blood pressure, and start seeing health markers more frequently and understanding that the root of many of them of what we're finding is stress. And I don't think people understand how much stress can actually take a toll on the body. So I know we all have felt that feeling of stress, but it's actually noticing that when chronically over time, bodies are not meant to have this amount of stress. So what happens is it's almost like a bucket. What happens is your body can deal with stress, and then over time, for many years of this and not finding ways to deal with it, it's as if it spills over that bucket. And it winds up causing issues with hormonal dysfunction. People start complaining that they're tired all the time, that they feel achy joints, that they feel puffy, that they are starting to have high cholesterol, which is an inflammation marker. They are starting to have issues where their A1Cs are going up and their doctors are wanting to put them on medications for diabetes. When looking at the entire picture, the actual root cause is stress. So I really felt this was a great topic to bring up because there are many things that you can do and ways you can look at things, and stress is going to be there. Things are going to happen, but it's really understanding how to have perspective, balance, and utilizing certain strategies to be able to mitigate through these things. So I'm going to go ahead and throw this over to Amanda because as our mindset coach, I think it's also perspective of looking at stress and how we can navigate through these times.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So stress has very real physical implications. So stress is interpreted by the body in a number of different ways, and that manifests in symptoms, right? Well, stress is entirely subjective. So the fact that you are feeling stressed is going to trigger those symptoms, but what stresses you is up to you. So it's all about the perspective and the way that you think about things. Obviously, there are going to be some things that stress us more than others. But if you look at any two people, usually a married couple is a great example. You've got one who is like type A, have to be there on time. Let's go, 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 go. And you have the other one who's like, let's just, we're just kind of chill.
I
And
feel like he's calling us out, Calvin.
I am calling you out, actually.
As an example, I could see that.
But the reason for that, they're both experiencing the same stressors, but they're manifesting them differently. So if we use Calvin and Brooke as our example, Brooke is our type A, Calvin is our laid back dude. And there are lots of times where I've seen the two of them being faced with the same problem, which they handle completely differently. Why? Because of the way that they think about things. The stressor is the same. But if we can work on how we think about things, then we can make the stress that we feel from that stressor smaller. It may always be a stressor. Some things are just going to stress you out. For me, it's being late. Being late for things makes me insane. And I have a really hard time, right? But over the years, I have had to learn that sometimes I'm just going to be late because you control what you can control, right? So a lot of the reasons we feel anxiety or stress, which can almost be used interchangeably, is we are trying to accomplish something and something is preventing us from accomplishing that. And so that anxiety that pops us, we have to look at, where is this coming from? Why do I feel this way? Why does this give me so much stress and anxiety? Maybe it's the importance that you put on being punctual, and where did that importance come from? Maybe your mom was always late for things as a kid, and now you're super punctual. There's lots of different confounding factors around what we find stressful. But the one thing that works for everybody is if you can take the stressor and apply rational thinking to it, and then break it into its smallest pieces. So the problem with something that's stressful is that it seems huge. It's enormous, right? I cannot get from A to Z. I have no idea how I'm going to do that. But what if you just need to get from A to B, and then B to C, and then C to D? It'll take you longer, but you'll get there, and you'll get there in one piece. So that is something that I have worked really hard in my own personal life, is instead of getting super overwhelmed by, the dog is sick and the toilet's broken and I have to get down to the tire store to get my tires fixed, which is real, by the way. And got a flat tire this afternoon, and talk about loving what you do. But you have all those things on your plate. Okay, right now they're just floating in your head. Why don't we organize them a little bit? Why don't we make them more manageable? It's like taking little bites of things, right? Like, are you going to eat a T-bone steak in one bite? No, you can't. You're going to choke and die. So you're going to cut it up. Big, unmanageable things, that is the number one way to reduce stress, is to make things manageable so they're not overwhelming. So I'd say as far as stress is concerned, we want to make sure that things are broken into smaller pieces. We want to reframe the way that we think about a stressor. How stressful is this really? Is this really going to cause me a huge inconvenience? Or is there another way to think about this? I think those are the two things that I would focus on with changing your mindset around stress.
I love that. Absolutely. And she brings up that late thing because of a travel situation that we had this last year where we were late. And the two of us with our issues of being late, and Calvin, that was why that was a thing.
I had a feeling I was going to get blamed for that one. But I'm just going to say for the record, I bet Megan and Whitney both would agree that they could be used as examples too. Because guys are going to be guys, I have to say. Guys are going to be guys.
I was like, this is exactly what it's like leaving my house too. I'm like, why are you sitting on the couch?
Yeah, so it could be said that maybe women stress more than men. I think that could be an argument. But I really like
she's right on that, actually.
I think I am. Is there a statistic for that?
Not that I know off the top of my head, but if I were to hypothesize as to why, our hormone structure is much more complicated.
An interesting thing is when you guys get stressed, it affects your hormones. When guys get stressed, it actually affects our hearts. So we don't feel it the same way you guys do. And not for now, but eventually that happens, unfortunately. But that could be part of it. It's two separate
I think
situations.
that's something else to bring up, Calvin, about when stress hits the body. Like, what are some things that that some of our clients will see, or something that you look for when somebody is very stressed, right? Whether it's a guy, because it doesn't affect their hormones. So women, will affect their hormones. You'll see hormone dysfunction and things in downregulation. But in a guy, how would you kind of pinpoint that stress could be a factor with a guy?
Well, that's, I think, probably the easiest thing that people could realize or have probably been through something similar to this is like, I use public speaking as an analogy for it, is right before you get up to go on stage. I mean, some people are great with it, right? But most people, it's a big fear. And so I think it's pretty common that a lot of people right before they have to go on stage feel like they have to go to the bathroom, and there's probably a lot of people shaking their head going, yeah, it's weird. That happened to me too. So what's important to notice about that is that is how quickly stress affects your gut. And that's a sign that it's happening. So that's just a clear example of how quickly it happens. And then, over time, over time, that turns into a gut issue, which eventually turns into a hormonal issue, which, for men, we do have our hearts are affected by it, but we also, our cortisol goes up, which does actually affect us, which over time causes belly fat, and that, but as far as stress outside of that, I think it's, we have a way of holding things in, which I think that probably is one of our biggest downfalls, is we just don't communicate well. So we hold things in. And so the stress starts to, it hits us after a while. Where women, I think on the other side, they are more verbal and more opt to let their emotions out and speak it, which is kind of a release on stress. But you still take on more stress because a woman's a caretaker, where the guy is supposedly the provider. So we feel like when we're providing, we're not stressed. So we're doing our job, right? So we're able to just handle it. Where women pick up the other 95% of what's left. Outside of that, because we provided, we're good, right?
Yep. Yep.
And I
Awesome.
know there's some guys out there right now going, listen, man, don't, why are you throwing us under the bus like that? But it's just the truth, you know, it just is. So stress does affect everybody in different ways, but it is, you know, it's for us, it's going to make us gain weight over time and pretty much everybody, you know, and it's the reason why I like this topic so much. And it's probably going to be one of the podcasts that gets overlooked a little bit, you know, because I can tell you from my experience, um, if anybody back in my training days to now as coaching, is that people don't take stress seriously because it's not something that they see and they feel like it's not an immediate, you know, reaction with instant gratification. So they don't put the attention on it that they feel they should. They are like, okay, cut calories, work out, do the things, let's do what we got to do to see it right now. You know, so the thing is, sleep. I can tell you that the most things that I struggle with my clients is getting them to try to sleep more. You know, aside from water, water's a big one, but sleep and just taking time to yourself during the day to just chill out a little bit, you know, because I think today, and probably for the last 20 years or more, people are on the go. They're on the go, go, go. You know, parents both working, you know, it's very uncommon that you have one working, one not, right? So the stress is there all the time. But the thing that people do is they don't think to take time to bring it down. So they're plugged in all day. They're running and you know, you have something plugged in, it eventually turns hot over time. It just runs and runs and runs until it just drops out, right? Our bodies are no different. You can't keep going all the time. Our body goes in cycles with everything. If you're running, you have to eventually walk to catch your breath. Stress is the same way. If the stress is going and going and going, at some point you have to stop and release. And that's the missing link. That's what people are not doing and what's causing the issue. So, you know, when you're training 5, 6 days a week, you have to take a recovery day. That's a de-stress. That's letting stress down. That's letting your body recover, you know, and your body recovers when it sleeps. That's when you burn the most fat, you know. So these things that people don't take seriously are actually probably the biggest component of what's holding them back from actually hitting their fitness goals, in addition to the side effects of what comes from it. So it is something that people should prioritize. But that's the challenge, right? I mean, do you guys find the same thing with your people that you struggle to get them to do the things that are more self self-indulgent, I guess you could say? I feel like a lot of times, especially more particular women, have a hard time doing things for themselves, you know? And I feel like this is probably the biggest thing. I mean, have you guys had that issue with your clients? But
Or
yeah.
yourself, right?
Yeah,
Megan, I'm going to go ahead and
100%.
pick
Yeah,
on
I've
Megan because I know Megan's been through some stuff and I have seen a lot that Megan has gone through. And Megan, for those that don't know, while being in a competition, being in a prep for a competition, had major life stressors. And even throughout, somehow I see her and she just manages to just stay focused, stay on point, and I don't know how. So I would say if you have any tips, tricks while nursing, being a nurse and a mom and having life stress hit you, you know, what are some things that you found were helpful and could help other people?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny when you say we have a problem giving back to ourselves because that's exactly what got me started with coaching with you guys. Because I was in that mom rut, right? Where everything was about the family, the kids, the husband, and I wasn't feeding myself. And that's exactly what getting back into shape and competing, that was my goal initially. That's kind of what got me back into filling my cup because I was empty. Um and then it just turned into an absolute love. And then using my healthcare background, being a nurse, just, all the science guru behind it, I just want to learn more and more and more and soak it up. But stress is very high over here. I have a very stressful job. And on top of that, I work night shifts as well. So that's adding another component of stress on top of it. And then with the training piece and the competing piece and coaching. So there's lots of pieces, right? And they're all moving. And it's trying to just keep everything floating, if you will, and running. So I think some things that have helped me is having time that I can give back to myself, because when I feel like I don't have that moment, and it doesn't have to be a long time. So if you can carve out, even 30 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever you can a day to do something for yourself. So whether that is if going to the gym is your thing, getting outside and just getting some fresh air, feeling the sun on your skin. If that means, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to paint my nails today, whatever that looks like, I'm going to take a bubble bath, but take whatever time you can carve out to yourself, because that is going to just help release some of that stress from you. Also, I think knowing when to ask for help. And I know that's something I struggled with a lot, especially with when the kids were really young. Now they're 10, 8, and 6, so they're a little older. But when they were babies and young, I felt like I had to do it all, right? And I would have people that would help. My mother-in-law, my mother, my stepmom, all the people. But I don't know. It was just something in me. I felt like I couldn't ask for help. So I'd like to tell everybody, like, use people. Like, if they want to help, they're not offering their help because they think you can't do it. They're offering their help because they want to help you, not that you cannot do it. And I think that's huge. And that will lighten the load off of you. Those are two just very simple ones.
I love that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
I think
And then
that
coming from a perspective with Whitney, because Whitney is in that mode. Whitney's got the littler babies. And when you are in that mode, I remember when I was in that mode, you don't realize how stressed you are and how much you feel it until you get that first 8 hours of sleep straight. And you're like, oh my God. Like,
I
I
can tell
forgot what
you.
that was like.
I'm thinking about this as we're
Wait,
talking
what?
about it because I do coach Megan, Amanda, and Whitney, so I know their stressors, and I know how we have to pivot around each of these stressors that they have, and they're all completely different, very unique. But wouldn't you guys agree that the stress is the biggest challenge of everything that we've done? Because with the three of you, you guys nail your food, you nail your workouts, you do all the things. The one thing that causes that resistance is the stress that's in your life. So huge impact. But Whitney, yeah, I agree. It's you're going through it right now.
Yeah. Well, and I think everyone has kind of touched on like a little bit of like how to get through it. Is like Amanda said, you control what you can control. And like I remember when like Zoe was born, and that transition from 1 to 2, it is not just like one more kid. It is like you're being pulled all of a sudden in every different direction. There's like regressions, like everybody needs you, and like you're just drowning in it. And having that kind of realization of like, I can't do this the way that I've been doing it, and having to learn how, like Megan said, asking for help. That's been a really hard one, but I'm glad that I figured out that it's okay to ask for help, because like sometimes I do need to fill my own cup, and I was getting to that point of burnout. With when I only had one, it was still super stressful, but like I was doing my workouts in the backyard and it was easy enough to do. And I finally got to a point where I was like, I need some time just like away where I'm all the way unplugged from paying full attention to them, because even when I was doing the workouts, even when I would try to go for like runs with a stroller, it's not the same, because you're in that constant like fight or flight for them. Like everything's an aggressor. Every car that goes by might just jump on the sidewalk, and it's like I can't focus on this the way that I used to be able to just lose myself. And that's been a big game changer for me, was like joining a gym, joining the Y. It's not like the greatest gym in the world, but I can put them somewhere safe for, however long it takes to work out. And like, I'm not worried. And that really lifted a load off of my shoulders, and being able to ask like my mother-in-law for help. realizing, like Megan said, that that doesn't mean that I can't do it if I ask for help, you know, and kind of remembering like my background really is anthropology. Like we're not meant to do this alone. You know, our ancestors, like we didn't have to do this alone until very recently in like modern culture where like, you know, we're very individualistic and we, like you said, Calvin, you know, we're on the go, go, go all the time. And we're kind of taught that we have to take everything and paint that picture perfect, especially as women. You can have it all. You can have the career, take care of the kids, do all of this stuff. And it's like that we're more stressed out and miserable than ever because it's unrealistic and that's not how it's supposed to be. So, like, stepping back and being able to ask for help and doing the things that, you know, make you feel good that are there for you. You know, my thing is going to the gym. Every once in a while, I sneak a run in because, you know, I need the.
By a bear.
It's a short run. I never do a long run. Don't worry. But I always tell on myself too. But it's because it's like the one time I can go to myself and like doing that has always been a way that my thoughts will just clear and it takes the stress off for a little bit. You know, whether it's like sometimes I'll throw on the insight timer like while I'm breastfeeding, just, you know, and I think that's another thing too is shifting your ideas of what maybe some of that looks like. You know, your workouts don't necessarily have to be what they used to be when you were, you know, childless and you didn't have extra responsibilities. Taking some time to like meditate doesn't have to look like this perfect, you know, super quiet, all by yourself, super comfortable position. Like if you can just practice that, even with your kids around, it makes a big difference. And I've noticed that too. And yeah, those are just some of the big ones that help me. And honestly, another one that helps me a lot is I figured this out with we're teaching my toddler how to manage his emotions. And so I figure I can't tell him to stop and take deep breaths unless I'm willing to do it too. So it's kind of cool to have like he's my reminder that like sometimes you just got to pause and like take a time out
Yep.
and take a couple deep breaths.
Love that. Love that. Amanda, you were going to say something?
Something that I learned a long time ago. In CBT, there are two types of activities you can do for like leisure activities. One is a pleasurable activity and one is an activity of mastery. So one is literally just so that you can experience pleasure. So this is something I give a lot of my clients when they first start with me. When I do that first call, if I can tell that they're like high stressors, I'm not going to get them to go to the gym 3 times a week yet. We're not there. But I can have you do 10 minutes of a pleasurable activity 3 times a week and use that to establish a habit. But what a pleasurable activity means is it can't be I'm watching TV, but I'm also doing my taxes and I got a kid on my left hip. That doesn't count. So it has to be something where you are completely disconnected. You cannot be on your phone. My pleasure activity is listening to music, laying down on my back and listening to music. And I will set a timer for 10 minutes if that's what I have to give. And for those 10 minutes, I don't answer any texts. I put my phone on sleep mode. And that is a mini refresher. Is it going to solve all your life problems? Absolutely not. But it is something to keep in your back pocket for when shit just gets to be too much and you don't know what to do and you're panicking. Go take 10 minutes and listen to something that makes you feel good, or draw, or read a book for pleasure, or walk, or just sit outside. I mean, it could literally be anything as long as it doesn't involve you multitasking and doing something for someone else. It has to be completely for you. But just doing that regularly can help also reduce stress. So you can use it as like a spot reducer, and you can also use it scheduled and regularly to bring down your stress overall.
Well, I like that. That's a great idea. That's a great idea. That I need to incorporate that. I think the walks during the day is actually really good. If for the people that work from home to just take a break and go for a 10-minute walk, that will do wonders. It just takes your mind out of it. You get some air coming in, some fresh air, and it switches things up. You know, so it's an interesting thing that kind of goes with this in a way is that Brooke and I had noticed that a lot of couples that we work with have similar health issues, like labs even. And it's odd, almost some of them almost just match perfectly. We're like, well, we think, well, they're eating the same foods, right? They're going out and doing the same things. So it makes sense. But what I think a lot of people don't realize is two is you have basically like an aura around you, right? It's about 10 feet of energy. That's your energy, right? So if you bring home from work that negative energy and then your spouse is there, that energy is kind of spreading to them at the same time. So they're actually feeling that stress. So, when you think in terms like what you were saying, Whitney, about having to leave and have your time to yourself, there's a lot more to that than might be obvious because nobody should feel bad because they have to remove themselves away from somebody they love for a little bit to get their peace of mind, and that can be a part of it because your aura is spreading on them, there's a spreading on you, and sometimes you need to disconnect. And if it's not enough sometimes, like what Amanda's saying, is to have your kid on your lap doing something. You could be something very peaceful, could be a meditation, you know, audio or whatever it is, it relaxes you. But if that's still there, you're still connected to it. You're still feeling their anger, their fear or whatever's happening. It's still in you. So that's not a stress relief. So sometimes you have to walk away from a situation, even when it's not a bad situation, but when you feel it, you detach and you have to kind of recharge in a sense, and I think that's partially why we see similarities in a lot of the labs is over time, over years, people share the stress.
And they're going through the same stressors, but they manifest a different way. But it's still the same stressors that they are both experiencing. So they're both seeing those types of, we're seeing those types of markers. Like literally, he's right. When we were looking at some of them, like the same numbers. It's crazy sometimes. But if you think about it, it is the same stressors that they're going through in life together, that they're having to deal with together. So it's not even just between them or something outside. Like it just could be something that they're dealing with together.
Yeah.
And another point that I wanted to bring up was I was listening to something the other day and it hit me really hard because my kids are now, I am the end of the spectrum, right? I'm at a point that like I was that mom, right? So when my kids were little, they were my world. Everything I did, I no longer took care of myself at that point. I gave everything to them. I did everything, for the family. That was my driver. That was the only thing. Myself was on last on my list. They got a little bit older, started releasing a little bit, but again, different types of stressors. But now it's at a point that my youngest is 18. Oldest is going to be 26. I am now on the sidelines. And you get to a point now in life that I don't even remember what I used to do for fun before my kids because I haven't taken care of myself in so long that I forgot, right? So I had Amanda here who bought me, you guys, all my women that are like over 40 are going to remember this, that little pot holder thing with the loops and the little bands that you make. So those who are younger won't know what I'm talking about. But it was one of those things from my childhood that I was like, wow, I got word finds that you find, you do the little circle the words, all these things that like, they were just brainless activities, but something that like calms me, something that reminded me of when I was younger. When I would go out before kids, I like going out dancing. So you know what I did? I signed up for this little hip hop class, like just because it was something. Yeah, don't laugh, Amanda. But again, it's just something that to move, I am thinking stress wise, right? I'm not going to be able to remove the stressors that are going on. And that's super important to understand. There's always going to be stress, but you have to, the more, like Amanda was saying, of finding those habits and those times, those little moments, it's going to be easier for you to go, okay, I'm having a day and I know what it feels like to be calm because I've done it frequently enough that I know that feeling and I have to do something because I feel myself going on the other side. When you're in it and you're in a Whitney position and you have so much going on, you forget what it's like to have calm. So now it's at a point that I have to say, what is it that is going to make me calm? What is it going to make me happy? Like I've done so much for other people that I've forgotten myself and how to actually feel like me. So I think that's part of it also is really, starting now and people being aware of think of how much chronic illness is going on. How many people you know with cancer? How many people you know that are diabetic? How many people that you know that are having these things go on in their life? Like I didn't know anybody with cancer when I was younger. I have had multiple people in my life pass away. And I'm sure to some degree it is food choices and what is going on in the, food industry right now, but we can't control it and we can't control the stressors. What we can control, and again, doing it alone is one thing, but also like Whitney brought up of doing everything by yourself, we should be a community. So also part of it is finding the people, and that's why I picked the dance group, because I figured it's a group of people that are my age that are going through similar things that will understand what I'm going through and doing something just for fun, like just to be. So I think part of it is absolutely nice to fill your own cup and find things that you can quickly go to. But I also think it's really important to find community and find a place that you feel part of something, because they will be there for support. They will be there to be able to understand, and you will see that you're not alone and you're not that only person. Because I think when you're in it, you feel like I have to do everything myself. I have to do it. And you've heard all of us said the same thing. We have to take care of everything. And Amanda's the same thing. Like Amanda, she has to take care of everything. I got to do this. I have this. I have this. So I don't think that anybody is, not feeling this way. But when you don't speak to other people about it, you don't realize.
I think like Megan found, competitions. That wasn't an easy decision. That's a hard thing for a lot of people, but that's what she needed. That's what she needed. See, she needed something to test her, but it needed to be something that she was being tested and something separate. It's kind of like what you're saying, that you have to kind of refine yourself, especially for moms, especially because you have to. And what you don't want to do is rely on your spouse and ask them, what should I do? You gotta find it. You have to reconnect with your younger basically what made you happy when you were younger. You're still the same person, but we lose touch with that person. But that person was a little wiser than what we think, because they knew what made you happy. And we lose touch with that as we get older. So growing older and wise is great, but you can't disconnect from who you really are, because when you lose that connection, you're lost. So you have to dig back to find those things. So it's and so she's doing that, and so you're doing the hip hop thing. And can that be on a podcast, by the way? Can we do something with that hip hop thing on the podcast? Way to get
Your face.
All
right.
We'll live it.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and cut this off. I hope you guys got some value out of this. We will be bringing more to you, but thank you so much for tuning in to this episode, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to Master Your Metabolism. If you found value in today's episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd hit subscribe and share this episode with someone who could use a little guidance in their health journey. Ready to take the next step? Head over to www.mastersfitnesscoaching.com and you can book a free call right from the site so we can chat about your goals and how we can help support you. Don't forget to join our Facebook group where we're sharing coaching tips, support, and tricks to help keep you on track and continue making progress. You don't have to do this alone. We're here to walk with you every step of the way. Until next time, stay consistent, stay kind to yourself, and keep mastering your metabolism. Let's do this together.